Okay. Good afternoon. Let's see. Chris Wallace. Pleasure to meet you. How are you
Likewise.
doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Good. So, I just wanted to go over your intake form really quickly. Wanted to make sure that all of the information we got here was correct. I saw some gaps here, some blanks, so we'll just go over it together, and I'll go ahead and fill them in as we talk. Okay? And went ahead and I set a timer. Okay? We have a timer for about 30 minutes, and once our session is done, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Okay? Sound good? All right. All right, Chris. So, Chris Wallace, 32 years old.
Yep.
Okay. You live at 123 Fake Street. Okay. Perfect. All right. So, tell me, Chris, what brings you in today?
Well, Mike, my PO, told me that I need to come and talk to somebody. I was got a DUI, got arrested, and he said I should probably come and talk to somebody. So that's why I'm here.
Here you are. Okay. Can I ask how long ago the DUI was, and what were you under the influence of?
DUI was about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I've been using meth for a while, and just got pulled over after I was under the influence, and I've been trying to stop for a while, but it was just a bad day for me, and just got in the car and got pulled over, and here I am.
Okay. So, how long have you been using methamphetamine for? Approximately.
Since I was 24.
Since you were 24? Okay. 24 years old. And you're now 32. So it's been quite a while. Have you been... How do you ingest the methamphetamine? What do you usually do when you take it?
Most people will smoke it, but past 5 years or so, I've been injecting myself.
Okay. And you said the last 3 to 5 years you were injecting. What were you doing before that?
Smoking.
Okay. Okay. So you've been doing meth since you were about 24 years old, injecting the last 3 to 5 years. And are you still injecting now? Like the day, for example, you got that DUI, did you smoke it or did you inject it?
No, I injected it that day.
Okay. So would you say you're more prone to inject rather than smoke?
Yeah, that's what I said, the last 5 years.
Okay. So let me ask you something, Chris, if you don't mind. At the peak of your usage, how many times a day would you say you would be using?
Once when I got up, then probably once again around midday, then depending on how much I had, could happen anywhere from 3 to 5 times a day.
Okay. 3 to 5 times a day. And how often are you using currently?
I mean, I've been trying to cut back. Some days are better than others, but sometimes the cravings are just, I can't help myself, and I don't hang around with the best people, so, usually when I'm in that type of environment, the cravings become worse. but I'm trying to stop.
Okay. So you said bad crowd. And are your friends also methamphetamine users?
Yeah, they sell, some of them sell, but
Okay.
most of them do use.
And you said you've been trying to stop. What does that look like for you when you try to stop?
Well, anybody can stop. I'm stopped right now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm trying to do is quit.
Okay. So there's a distinction for you in that case. You feel like you can stop at any time, but is stopping cold turkey? Has that been the issue for you? What's the longest you've been able to stop?
2 to 3 months, maybe.
Okay. And what motivated you that one time? 2 to 3 months, that's a pretty long time for you to just decide to quit. That's great.
I checked myself into a rehab center,
Okay, that's wonderful.
but as soon as I got out, just picked up old habits.
Okay. Okay. And when you picked up those old habits, do you think it had anything to do with your circle? With the people you were hanging out with after you got back out of rehab?
Yeah, I was with my friends when I started again.
Okay. Okay. So let me just ask you a few more questions in terms of your rehab. You checked yourself in for 2 to 3 months. How long ago was that?
The first time was maybe 4 years ago,
Okay.
and then the last time was about a year ago.
Okay. So back in 2015 and 2018. Okay. And were they each 2 to 3 months or?
The first time was 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
and then the last time was 1 month. I
Okay.
checked myself out.
Okay. Was there a reason why you decided to check out back in 2018?
I didn't feel it was working.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, Chris. Let me just ask you some other intake questions here. Drug and alcohol use. Do you use anything else other than methamphetamines, or do you consume any alcohol at all?
I mean, I drink from time to time.
Okay. What's time to time? What does that look like for you?
Maybe a couple times a week.
Okay. Can you put a number on that for me?
2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. 2 to 3 times a week. And each time you drink, those 2 to 3 times a week, how much alcohol do you consume? We talking one beer?
I'd say maybe 2 to 3 beers each time.
Okay. And is beer your alcohol of choice? Do you drink anything else?
I mean, I drink anything, but that's the cheapest thing I can find.
Okay. Okay. And do you have any allergies to anything?
No.
Okay. And you said you live at 123 Fake Street.
Yeah.
So how do you support yourself? How do you employ yourself?
Legally or illegally?
I guess both.
Well, legally, my buddy has a repair shop that I work at.
That's great.
So I go in when I can. And he's been really cool about it because sometimes I don't always come in when I'm supposed to. And anything I don't make up at work, I usually try to sell some weed on the side.
Okay.
But now with this whole legalization thing, that's not even working out for me.
I see. So it's not working out for you because do you have less of a market or?
Yeah, I mean, can't compete with all the dispensaries out there, and everybody wants the newest, fashionable thing, and
Yeah.
can't always get that.
Okay. So about approximately how much do you make between the repair shop and selling marijuana?
Probably like 20,000 a year.
20,000 a year. Okay. And so you were referred to me by your parole officer, right?
Yeah, stupid ass Mike.
Yeah. Okay. Well, uh, does Mike know you're selling weed? And as we talked about in our previous session, everything that we talk about is confidential. So I just wanted to make sure that you are aware uh, that everything that we talk about is confidential. So
I
you're
mean,
welcome.
I don't smoke it, so it's not like he finds out with my piss test or nothing, but
Yeah.
I don't think he knows.
Okay. Okay. All right. So in terms of education, Mr. Wallace, what are we talking? What is your highest education level that you've completed?
I graduated high school
Okay. When was that? What high school?
14 years ago.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
Rancho Alamitos.
Rancho Alamitos. I went to Rancho Alamitos.
Oh, real?
Yeah. Yeah.
School sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard the football team was no good. Did you play any sports at Rancho
No.
Alamitos?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. I actually graduated about 9 years ago, so we probably missed each other. But I also went to Rancho. That's cool. That's pretty cool. What a small world, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So, have you ever been admitted to the hospital? Do you have any family history of hospitalizations or anything like that?
I mean, my mom was an alcoholic.
Okay.
She went into hospital a few times. And my dad was in and out.
Okay. So you said your mom was an alcoholic. Is she
Yeah.
still with us?
No.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask what she passed away from?
I think complications from liver cirrhosis.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry to hear that, Chris. Sorry to hear that. Okay. I know I'm bombarding you with a lot of questions, but it's really important that I'm able to kind of get a really clear idea about what's going on with you, just to make sure that I'm being the best support that I can be for you. And it really seems to me, Chris, that you have really made some amazing active efforts to quit using methamphetamines. Um, I mean, 2 to 3 months, I think that's fantastic. I know you definitely have the ability to quit completely and to um, recover.
Well, it's not good enough for my wife.
Okay. Want to tell me a little bit about her? What's not good enough for her?
The efforts.
The efforts. Okay. How long have you been married?
About 5 years.
That's wonderful. How did you two meet?
And I was at a party. She was there, and we kind of just hooked up. And then when we found out that she was pregnant, it seemed like the only right thing to do.
That's wonderful. And so I'm assuming do you have any more children other than that one child?
No, just the one boy.
The one boy? How old is your son now?
Dennis is 5.
He's 5. Okay. Is he in school? Kindergarten?
Yeah.
Oh,
His mom takes him to school.
that's a sweet age. That's a sweet age. Okay. So married for 5 years, and so you're saying that your efforts aren't good enough because she just really isn't happy with the progress that you've been making. What
I
is she?
mean, when I use, she gets upset at me using.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I don't use, I'm so stressed out about not wanting to use that I become very on edge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I'm on edge, can't nobody tell me nothing. Then my wife comes and starts yelling at me. Just not good for the relationship.
Yeah, I can see that. Does she ever make any mention of Dennis at all when she's upset?
I mean, she says she'll take him away, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she'll do that.
Mm-hmm. What makes you think she won't?
Because she sees I'm a good dad. I might not be the best provider,
Mm-hmm.
but I love my son.
I'm sure you do. And that's great motivation. Can I ask, is that part of your motivation? Is that part of the reason why you're here today, Dennis?
I'm here because Mike wants me to be here.
Okay.
Rehab didn't help. Cold turkey didn't help. My friends don't help. My wife don't help. So you probably won't help too. So I'm just here to get my PO off my back.
Well, Dennis, I'm not a miracle worker. I can't promise you anything. All of that is dependent on your effort and our ability to work together. Now, I understand if you're discouraged. I understand if you're feeling like, you've tried over and over again, but you've never tried with me. So I'm going to ask you, if you're really sincere in this, to just give me a chance. Is that fair enough?
Do I have a choice?
You do, actually. You do have a choice. Therapy and being here is, sure, Mike definitely has a court order for you to be here, right? I know that, you know that. But the progress that we make, the progress that you put forward, the effort that you put forward, comes from you.
I don't want you getting all up in my head with your therapy and whatever science you guys do. There's nothing wrong with me. I just can't quit, that's all. My head is fine.
Well, I'm not here because I think there's something wrong with your head, Chris. I'm here because you have expressed to me that this is something that is important to you and something that you want to do. You displayed that back in 2015 when you stopped for 2 to 3 months, and back in 2018 when you stopped for a month. That was on you. That was a choice that you made, right? And there was a reason for why you wanted to quit at that time. So if you're here just because of Mike, and I understand that was a court order, but you have expressed that you did want to stop. And I want to help you with that process, if you'll allow me. I'm not trying to get in your head. I'm not here to manipulate you. I'm not here to control you in any way. I'm just here to help. And like I said before, you've tried it your way. Why don't we try it a different way? We'll get to know each other a little bit more. I just want to get some basic information on you now to make sure that to make sure that I'm doing everything possible to help you. All right?
All right.
Okay. So, how often are you using now?
I don't know. Once a week, twice a week,
Okay.
3 times a week.
Okay. So 1 to 3 times a week. And what triggers the usage? I know you said you're stressed, right? You said you were stressed out. You're stressed that you have Mike on your back. What else is triggering that stress?
Money,
Money. Okay.
my wife, my DUI.
Mhm.
Just everything.
Okay. Now let's try to zero in on one thing at a time. Okay. If not using methamphetamine were to go away, do you think it'll help eliminate some of the other problems? The money, the wife, the DUI, everything else?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's progress. That's progress. So, what would you think is the root of all your problems then? Looking at everything from a third party perspective, what advice would you give to Chris if you zoomed out and you saw everything that he was stressed out about? His wife, money, DUI, having his PO on his back.
Stop using, I guess.
Okay. So, what can we do? What do you think we can do to get you back to that head space that you were at back in 2015 when you quit for 3 months? I think that's remarkable. And I think you should give yourself some credit for that. I think that's amazing. I haven't heard of many people being able to get off, 3 months that way. That tells me that there was something that drove you.
Yeah.
Let's go back there. Let's go back to 2015. Those 3 months that you checked yourself into rehab. What was going on with Chris at the time? What motivated you?
I left my son in the car.
Tell me about that.
I went to my friend's house. I was just gonna run inside. And I had Dennis with me. As soon as I got inside, my friends were just sitting down to smoke. So I sat down with them. And I forgot he was in the car. And when I came out, the car was hot. Dennis was hot. I took him to the hospital, but he was fine. But I can't help but think what happens if I had stayed in that house longer. Dennis could have been dead. So I told myself that was it. I had to get some help, but that didn't even last that long.
Must have been a very scary experience for you as a father.
Yeah,
I'm sure that really shook you up, those 2 to 3 months. I'm sure that's what motivated you during that time.
yeah,
Well, thank you for sharing that with me, Chris. I know experiences like that really shape us, really shake us. And I'm happy that you had that experience. It's unfortunate that Dennis had to be um, the reason for that. But I'm glad that you know you had an experience that kind of shook you up and woke you up to the reality of things. Now, do you think we can take that thought and use that again, but pair it with the therapy that I'm going to help give you to kind of help push us forward?
and try.
And I think you can do it. Okay. So let's explore some alternatives. Okay. You have a son, you have a wife, you have employment, right? You have your gig with your friend. Is that something that you can do 5 days a week if you ask him to? If you show up 5 days a week, you think your friend will give you a job 5 days a week?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's great. So you have the ability to stop, right? Anytime you want. Um, and I just want to explore some alternatives with you. What can we do, Chris, to kind of help reroute your train of thought before you start using? What do you think some alternatives are? Is there anything else that you like to do that piques your interest? Music, hobbies, doing certain things with your family, your son maybe?
I like to play with my son.
Okay. What do you guys like to do together?
He likes to go to the park and play
Okay.
baseball or football. He's really into sports.
Oh, that's wonderful. What's his favorite? What do you guys like to do together?
I mean, we watch football during football season.
Okay. What's your team?
The Cowboys.
Cowboys. That's awesome. Okay. So you guys watch football together? Do you guys play football together?
Yeah, we go to the park and throw the ball.
Okay. That's great. Do you have him, are you planning on putting him in Little League or some football when he's a little older or
I mean,
anytime soon?
if he wants to.
That's great. Okay. Did you play football at all?
No, I told you I didn't play sports in high school.
No. But not even as a kid or afterwards? Okay. Okay, so do you think maybe when you're inclined to use, you can maybe pick up the football and have some me time with your son, some daddy and son time?
Could try.
Okay. Okay. So some of the major problems that we were able to identify together, Chris, were that kind of got you into using was, we said, bad crowd, right? How can we eliminate this bad crowd? Do you have any other circle of friends that don't use that you can hang out with?
No.
Is there any way that you can maybe make some friends with dads at the park, or if you enroll your son in some football, maybe you can make some friends with the dads there that possibly don't use? Kind of refresh your circle there? Is that something that you're willing to do?
I mean, I'll try, but I don't think it's going to work.
Okay, but we can try, right? Is that something that you've tried before?
I mean, I don't really get along with too many people.
That's all right. Is that something that you can possibly try to make a new circle of friends? Okay, how about the cravings? How are we gonna crush those cravings? What did you do for those 2 to 3 months when you were in rehab?
I mean, I didn't have a choice.
You did. Because you didn't check yourself out. You did have a choice. So what did you do for those 2 to 3 months? Those 30 minutes are up. We'll do another 10 minutes, all right?
Like, I gotta go somewhere, so can't be here all afternoon.
Okay. Okay, so let's wrap up then. I just want to make sure that we have a plan. While you go, while you leave, while you go throughout your week, because I'm not going to see you for another month, right? You're not obligated to come every week or bi-weekly. So I'll see you next month. So I just want to make sure that we have a plan to ensure that you're not using. Because right now you're using one to 3 times a week.
Try and work more.
Okay.
And spend more time with my son.
Can we make a goal for work?
Like what?
For how many times a week you attend? Set a goal for yourself.
I mean, I'll try to go 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
Do you think that's a realistic goal for you, Chris, if you're using 3 times a week?
I mean, you're telling me to set goals, I guess.
Then let me rephrase that. Let's set some goals that you honestly feel you can do. If 5 is your number, that's great. We'll do 5. But I just want to make sure that it's a number that you can attain, that's realistic.
I mean, 4 to 5, probably.
Let's start with 4. How's that? Okay, we'll work up to 5. Work 4 days a week. That bad crowd, what are we going to do about them?
I mean, I could stop heading over there.
Okay. But we should replace that bad habit with something else. So instead of hanging out with that bad crowd, we said maybe throw the football around with your son, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So is that something that you can do after work? Instead of hanging out with the old crowd, pick up your son and throw the football around with him?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and your wife. So I think naturally, Chris, that if you're hanging out with your son, you're going to work, right? You're making some income. Not only are you crushing your cravings, you're cutting out the bad crowd, but you're spending time with your son and making your wife happy because you're not using, you're home, hanging out with your boy. Do you think that'll eliminate her kind of being on your back a little bit?
And if she notices, she don't even notice when I put in effort, though.
Let's say theoretically she did. You're going to work. You're throwing the football with your son. You're at home.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Okay. Let's just assume that by doing that, we'll be able to achieve that. No guarantees, but we can try. Right? That's all we can do is try. Okay, Chris. So I think that's really good for now. Again, I want to thank you for coming in and talking with me and for sharing that information with me and that story with your son, Dennis, and how that impacted you. I thought that was very powerful. So just wanted to thank you for sharing that with me, okay? So just to recap, I wanted to make sure that you know that for the next session, we're going to go over your plan, see how you did with, ditching that crowd, seeing if you went to work 4 times a week, and let me know how your wife is feeling about you then and there, okay?
All right.
Okay, so I think we did some great work today, Chris. I wanted to thank you for coming in and for talking with me, and I'll see you next month. All right?
Thank you.
Have a good one. No, thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye-bye.